To an Eyewitness News exclusive, it has been several days now since the state's eviction ban was lifted. The measure helped many families, but it also devastated hundreds of landlords who had filed eviction paperwork long before the pandemic started. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Roger Suzanin returns to Westbrook tonight to reintroduce us to a family who will likely never recover what they lost.
Every time we come here, we say we got it back. It's the way it was, and we're happy.
The Dunn family can finally enjoy their beautiful Westbrook home right on the water again. It's so much more relaxing here now than when we first visited with the family last summer, when the Dunns were in the midst of a crisis.
It's gut-wrenching to come here because it's just the emotion it takes on my wife is devastating.
Jeffrey Dunn explained that back in January of 2020, weeks before the pandemic began, his tenants, Robert and Faith Mora, who were staying in another home Dunn owned just a few steps away, told him they simply would not be paying any rent going forward, and they had no plans to leave anytime soon.
I don't know how anybody could be like this. I've never met people that could do something like this.
After the story aired, the community rallied around the Dunns.
The last interview you did with me, I think everybody in the state saw it, because every time I walk down the street here, everybody says, "Hey, I saw you on TV."
The support was nice, but didn't solve the problem. The Dunns were in for a long fight because the Moras had done this before. Court records show that in 2019 alone, the family had been evicted from 2 other Westbrook homes after their landlord said they just stopped paying rent.
How do you live with yourself? Do you have any conscience? How do you bring up your children this way?
They got the boot from the first house in February of 2019. And by April, a second landlord took them to court. They were evicted from that house by October. And a short time later, they settled into Dunn's home, stopped paying rent after a couple of months, and rubbed Jeffrey's nose in it.
He's told me outright, because he's done this so many times before, he says, "I'm staying here until the sheriff comes to take me out." Because he knows that he can stay there that long. The laws protect him.
And sadly, it was true, in large part because of the coronavirus. Connecticut's eviction moratorium just expired last week for COVID cases, although a federal moratorium remains for people who qualify. And even landlords who filed eviction paperwork before the pandemic didn't fare much better. The Moras didn't get the boot until this past February.
It was somewhere around $60,000 between the winter and summer rental that was lost over 14 months.
Jeffrey blames himself for making what turned out to be an expensive mistake. He rented to the Moras without doing a background check, an error in judgment his family will never make again. Now he warns other landlords to go above and beyond to protect themselves.
What I would have done is I would have insisted on, 3 references, previous landlord references, and a credit check, background check, all of which we're doing now.
But Jeffrey says the state is falling short too. Even in normal times, the eviction process can take nearly a year, even with people like the Moras, who go through it again and again.
Something needs to be done about these people. This is criminal.
But with a view like this, Jeffrey tries not to dwell too much on the past. And he's glad that at least now his neighbors are watching him featured in a story with a happier ending.
And then they'll walk by and they'll say, "You got your house back."
In Westbrook, Roger Suzanin, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.